Today I want to talk to you about why I strive to beat the market indexes on a regular basis every single day and why it's important over time. The other day I was out for dinner and drinks with my local stock trading group, and this topic actually arose as to who at the table actually records their daily return comparatively to different indexes like the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the Russell 2000. So this got me thinking, well, I actually don't do this. I actually don't record the individual daily return, but I wanted to see what my performance was like. And I know that the way that I trade options gives me a very clear advantage over the regular indexes. So I built a spreadsheet, which I'm going to show off today, and the power that it has to be able to take data that is just accessible with a few clicks into our brokerage platform to be able to reference back and look at our personal comparative returns relative to the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the Russell. It's pretty exciting. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Levi Woods. This is Drawbridge Finance, and thanks for tuning in. Now, if you're new here, remember this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. So what I do is I provide spreadsheets available for sale on my website that are tools for traders. And if you like, you can join into the Patreon discussion where I also post my live trades. I think it's super important to have a trading group. Now, I have one locally. I'm in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. So if you're ever looking for a trading group, feel free to reach out to me directly. I will put you in contact with us, and we get together once a month and we talk about strategies, trades, a whole bunch of things. But I know that it's not always possible for people to get into a group like that locally. So that's why I have my Discord chat, which is available for people to join, and we can talk about the markets on a day-to-day basis. It's a pretty awesome opportunity. So if you're looking for something like that, consider looking down in the description below and joining up today. Now, for a lot of people, it's difficult to even conceive of beating the market in this way, but I'm going to show you a couple of the different indexes and how they compare to one another and how we can use that to our advantage. So I'm going to look at Yahoo Finance. Right now, we're looking at the S&P 500 index, and down here, there's a comparison tab, and I am just going to click on that tab, and I'm going to click on Dow. And what that's going to do is it's going to chart a blue line on here that shows the comparative percentage return of the S&P 500 relative to the Dow. Now I can do a couple of different comparisons on here. Let's throw the Nasdaq on as purple. Let's do Russell as well. So I'm going to just plug that in as IWM, and we're going to save that. We're looking at a one-year chart. We can see over the last year that the Nasdaq has outperformed the other indexes. It's up 24% from 1 year ago today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 10%, S&P 500 16%, and the IWM or the Russell is 9.47%. Now, why is this important? I mean, I think from a standpoint of investor, I want to be able to fall somewhere near the top of these types of returns. I also want to show you the year-to-date chart on this because you'll see that the Nasdaq has been massively outperforming. This is partially due to the huge drawdown that it had in 2022. So the Nasdaq year-to-date is 31%, while the S&P 500 is 16%. Now, I want to show you my personal returns in my margin account. I use IBKR, and it is amazing. Now, I can look at the performance over time, and you can see that I have done extremely well this year. So far, I am up 19.5% year to date. Now, I can also put on a benchmark. If I click on this little button, I can put on the Nasdaq composite if I like. And you can see that the Nasdaq has actually outperformed my portfolio performance. Now, I have outperformed the S&P 500 by just a little bit, looking at a 18% return comparatively to a 15% return year to date over the S&P 500, which is fantastic. But one of the things I want to show you is how consistent returns can perform over a greater period of time. If we look at this one-year chart, my performance over the past year has been 31% relative to the 17.5% we saw in the S&P 500 over that time. Also, if we compare to the Nasdaq over a one-year period, you can actually see that I am beating the best performing index of these four. It is amazing how this works. And one of the reasons for this is because I, on a daily basis, am trying to beat the market. If we take a look at some of these returns, if we look today, the Dow Jones was up 0.08%, IWM was 0.44%, Q's up 0.16%, and SPX up 0.11%. So these are all positive returns in the market overall. If we look at my actual return today, since the prior close, 0.70%, and this is right from Interactive Brokers. When I do this, when I can consistently beat the market on a daily basis, this gains value over time. I want to show you a very cool spreadsheet that I built that does all of this comparison that we just looked at, and it allows me to chart my portfolio against all 4 of these indexes. So here's the chart, and it's pretty simple. I try to keep everything pretty basic. For my spreadsheets, the entry is always very, very simple. We're looking for white cells. So in this case, I can actually change to a different year. If I wanted to look back at 2022, it will actually show us data from 4 different ETFs automatically. So we've got the SPY, which tracks the S&P 500. We've got QQQ, which tracks the NASDAQ. Dow Jones Industrial, which is DIA, and IWM, which tracks the Russell. The other available section here is where we can put in our own information, and it's pretty simple. All we have to do is put in our net asset value. So if we, for example, had an account that had a balance of $10,000 and the ending balance on January 3rd was $10,200, then it will automatically calculate out that daily change. And what that does is it compares it to the rest of the market. So if that was the case in this, we can look at the S&P 500 returning 0.58%, the NASDAQ 0.96% that day, Dow Jones 0.65%, and the IWM 1.9. It will highlight the one of the 5 that had the biggest change, and it will show the daily change here, the largest winner. It will highlight that and say it was the margin account that day. And you can look down this chart and look at past years or past times and say, wow, okay, so these are the days that were the biggest winners. And I've also got a column here for the biggest losers. So we know that on any particular day, we can see that the Dow Jones was the biggest winner, IWM was the biggest loser, and it will highlight it as such. So very simple to just go through using our daily statements and enter the net asset value in the sheet. I've also given a column for contributions and withdrawals. So for example, if we had $10,200, we put in $10,400 the next day, but we have deposited $200, it will actually show that there was 0 daily change there because this contribution doesn't count towards the net asset value change. The daily change is specific only to the values minus the contributions. And it also shows a dollar change as well. So if we had no contribution, we can see that our net asset value increased by $200. At the top, we have the current price of the S&P 500. This is live data, and this is showing the ending price of 2022. So if we change this to 2023, it will automatically load the current price and it will populate all of the cells down to the current date. So the closing prices aren't yet posted. I'm filming this on July 3rd right now. The closing prices aren't yet posted. So it's the latest close is June 30th. And this sheet will just automatically populate without any need for you to add any information. Now, looking at this a little bit further, we can also look back at the year and say, well, how many days was the SPY the biggest loser or biggest gainer, the Qs, Dow Jones, IWM, etc. So it shows the number of winning days. We also see the year-to-date change as a bar chart. We also see a spark line. We can see that the Qs have gone up, 37% year-to-date. Now, the percentages are slightly different depending on where you look and what data they're actually using. So the way that these are calculated out, this 40% return, if you look at how it's actually calculated, what is happening is it's taking the difference between the open price, which was January 3rd of 264, and the current price of 370 to calculate this 40% return. There's some slight variation depending on whether they're calculating off the open and close, but it is very, very close. And now you guys know percentages are liars, so it's very easy to make these discrepancies in here. Sometimes it's actually hard to get a net asset value report in here, and there's a lot of data that we need to fill out. I use IBKR, and it is amazing. I went into IBKR and I tried to figure out an easy way to download the net asset value, and it wasn't that easy. So I'm going to show you how to do it in a slightly different way, and we can input the percentage return so that we can populate this out and we can see where my portfolio is performing this year to date. I'm going to click on performance and reports, and I'm going to click on portfolio analyst. There's going to be a couple of different things that we can look at. We can see what our performance has been over time. I'm going to click on details. And then I'm going to click on reports. So if I go to reports, now I've already added this in. This is the daily year-to-date performance, but I'm going to show you how easy it is. So down here in custom reports, I'm going to click on the plus button, and I'm going to just call this daily year-to-date change. So this is going to be year-to-date. We're going to be daily. The report type is detailed. The format is CSV. Time weighted return is fine. And replace account ID with account aliases. I'm going to click yes. That way it shows up as text rather than my account number. And I find that just easier for myself. Now the report pages that I want, there's going to be two that I'm going to select. I'm going to record the time period performance statistics and the cumulative performance statistics. I'm going to click on continue. And then do I need to include the breakout? I don't need to. So I'm just going to click on continue. Here's the summary of the review. And I can go back and edit this at any time. But I'm going to click save changes. It tells me the report is saved. I'm going to click OK. What I'm going to do then is select this new custom report that I've created, the daily year-to-date change. I'm going to click on run. And I'm going to make sure that it's year-to-date, daily, and the format is CSV. Under consolidate, I'm going to say generate an individual report for each selected account. I'm going to click run. What this is going to do is it's going to generate a download. So I'm going to go over to my computer's folder, wherever my downloads go, and I am going to look for this CSV file. Now it's very basic information. What we can see in this case is we can see the date and we can see the return. Now this is in a percentage return. It's in a decimal place. So this is 0.22% positive on January 2nd of this year. And you'll see there's an entry for every single day of the year. This is the daily change. Below it is the cumulative change. So if we look at January 1st of this second section, the first day was the same, 0.22. But if we look down at the bottom, the cumulative return to year to date as of June 30th is 18.76%. So I'm going to input both of those data points. I'm going to just delete this column in the middle. I don't need that. Then I'm just going to grab this data, these two columns side by side, and I'm going to scroll down right to the current date. I'm going to copy this to my clipboard. I'm using the command Control-C on my Apple to get this information. I'm going to zip over to my chart. At the bottom, there's a daily percentage change entry. So I can click on this tab, and it's very, very simple. All we're doing is pasting, and you can use paste special, which is just values only. And what that will do is it doesn't mess up the formatting. It just enters in these two columns of text. So we've got June 30th, and then we've got the percentage return on a daily basis. We can see that daily percent change. It's important that we keep the formatting correct because this column is formatted as a date, and it needs to be such because it needs to match to the other tab. Now we have to do the cumulative change. So looking back at our spreadsheet, we're going to scroll down to this second portion. We're going to select the January 2nd data. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. I'm going to use Shift so that I can select all of the data in that in those cells. I'm going to copy that using Command C, and then I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go paste special values only. Now we have the percentage change on January 2nd was 0.22%, and the cumulative change is 0.2%. Then we can see how each of these affects. It's not actually doing any multiplication. This is just pasted data, but we can see what the cumulative return is. Now, if we click back to this portfolio, you'll see that it's automatically done without actually entering any of the net asset value into this sheet on a daily basis. It now has that margin account change year to date. It also is now going through and showing you how often my margin account was beating or losing comparatively to the rest of the market. It also automatically charts So when we look at the year to date, you'll see that now my margin account has now populated right into this chart, and I can see how my performance is relative to both the S&P 500, the IWM, and the NASDAQ. And again, this is super interesting because on the year-to-date chart, you can see that I am outperforming 3 of the 4 indexes. But again, when we look back at that full time, you can see that over the past year, my account has actually outperformed the NASDAQ because I didn't have such a large drawdown like the NASDAQ did at the end of 2022. My account stayed relatively high while the NASDAQ was falling further, which is why I was able to outperform long term. Now, I hope this information has been interesting to you, and I hope that this spreadsheet helps you. If you're looking for a way to easily show how your portfolio is relating comparatively to the other indexes, I think this is a pretty cool spreadsheet that allows for some pretty simple entry to see what we're doing on a daily basis. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get rich together. Take care.